Good afternoon, everybody. And some of the terms I've used in my deck were actually spoken about yesterday, today in the session earlier. I'm hoping my PPT will come up in a while. Thank you very much for all of you for sticking around. And I was not very hopeful when I kept telling you this is not for me. And then he said next is not yours, and I kept it. So thank you very much for the privilege of your time. Venkatesh Mahadevan, I've been working with Dubai Investments for 9 years now. Going to be 10 this year. Long time. I run IT for we have 35 companies in the group, so we are not only a BFSI as a lot of you would probably assume. We have about 35 companies in the group. We have real estate, manufacturing, glass, aluminium, pharma, FMCG, and all of that. I was brought on board 9 years back to say, Venki, come and help us set up a managed services center, and this was the mandate given to me. And two, sometime down the road, we want to look at digital transformation. So I'm like one of those. Okay, something is going to blow up. But I'm like one of those dinosaurs who've survived the ages, and I'm still here. I've worked on, out of academic interest, I've worked on RPG, COBOL 400, worked on the first AS 400 in the country, so yeah, I survived. I was given this much time to speak, and this is the problem about knowing Vikas Gupta, right? I was given this much time to speak, and by the time we met and spoke a couple of times, it's come down to this, and now Kiri has just thrown in a hint saying, guys, we are running short of time today. So okay. No. I'm going to run through my slides. So I've already changed my deck twice from yesterday. So I first thought I would give 15 minutes of Gyan and then another 15 minutes of technical topics. So I've removed all the technical slides. I've removed all the Gyan barring the first two slides. And then my core of my presentation is just 2 slides, and we'll talk about it. And this is essentially my experience. So if any of you want to get together and we feel we have common topics, we can write a book, sit outside, and over a drink we can write a book. But essentially this is my journey in the last 9 years because I've gone through this. So I've always believed in keeping IT simple. I worked for some really high-tech organizations. God has been kind. I've been worked for some of the best organizations. I've always believed as IT, and these are mistakes I have made. As IT, we tend to get technical. We tend to overcomplicate things as we walk into board. I've been sent out of boardrooms. I've been welcomed in boardrooms. I've been told, we appreciate your PowerPoint skills, but we want to listen to something else. I've been told everything else. Come a long way. This is where we are. And the clicker doesn't work, so... Okay, so let's do a reality check quickly. Let's be true to ourselves. We are all same fraternity, right? So this is not working, guys. Okay, so you will press this. Okay, so there is something new, and this is something that I've faced in the last. I'm not talking about a previous experience. I'm just talking about my current Dubai Investments experience. Something new you didn't count on almost every day. Does it happen to any of you? It happens to me 3 times a week. Trust me. Next, please. You will disappoint people and people will disappoint you. And I'll tell you what, I still have stakeholders coming up to me and said, Venki, we didn't expect you to do this. Being around for 9 years, I don't know how many of you have been longer in this company. Is there a sabotage to, twice it's, can you click please? Yeah, thank you. Can you click the next one as well? The competitive environment will change, the macro environment will change. It has happened to me across 3 industries. So we are also into education, we are also into pharma, we are also into healthcare. And somebody from healthcare is here. And healthcare, you know how sensitive they are. So it's changed as we speak in UAE. So I live in Dubai. In UAE, the rules have changed. They've been tightened over the last 2 years and 3 years. To add to the complications, we are a public joint stock corporation. So we are on the stock exchange, one of the larger entities. So we are very, very tightly regulated by the government and by authorities. Yeah. Are you prepared to face and all of that? And I'm not even, COVID happened. None of us saw it coming. It happened. We read about it and we kept ignoring it, saying next door, it won't happen to us. And we then got into WhatsApp groups. Anybody who's not gone through any of this? Okay. Ability. Do we possess all of these abilities, right, guys? Okay. Understand complex ideas. One of the mistakes I've made, I walked into Dubai Investment. They said, Venki, we want to do blah, blah, blah. And the first board meeting 3 months from now, big mistake. 3 months is 90 days, right? So first meeting after 90 days, I actually put up a roadmap saying, this is what I think you guys need to do. And I had the board sitting there and they said, okay, based on what did you come up with? Based on, I met 6 GMs and 4 MDs and 3 vice presidents, and I walked the Dubai market. And I walk the market even today. So I walked the Dubai market. I've spent time with distributors. I've spent time with authorities. Okay, so I said, and no, we don't agree. I said, why do you not agree? So, blah, blah, blah. One person saying, no, we are a different company. I said, none of you guys are different. And one lesson I learned that day was, We've all been there, done that. We've all saying, I've done this, I've done that. Trust me, none of your past experience matters when you get into a new company. And you might think this is Gyan, but this is exactly what happened to me 9 years back. I walked in there, new place, new country, and I said, I know everything. Listen, I've done it for Motorola, I've done it for Coca-Cola when we did not even call it digital transformation. We did it. We were one of the largest implementations of SAP in the good old days. So that's happened to me. To adapt effectively to the environment. As we speak today, I have 6 nationalities working in my team. I had larger teams in Motorola. 6 nationalities working. In the organization, we have probably about 25, 26 nationalities. If there are half a dozen GMs and CEOs of units I talk to, 5 nationalities, that's an environment. They don't speak, English is probably the common thread, but they don't understand a nodding of a head to what they mean. It's like it'll happen. What a guy in Delhi says is very different to what a guy in Bombay says. It's exactly how it is. And that's true of every country, but that's something I learned. Experience. As I kept working with people, they kept telling, and mind you, I'm dealing with people who are hugely successful, have run companies even before I got there. They've been running, they've been making a lot of money, and when you go to them and say, here is a guy who's going to get you to invest a lot in IT because he comes from Motorola and all that, you're obviously not very welcomed, and the red carpet is not rolled out for you because they're saying, this goes out of my P&L, and it's a straight hit to the bottom line. And reasoning. I've had meetings where there have been no conclusions. We've walked out of meetings where nothing has happened. Do we actually have the ability? While a lot of us might believe we have, I don't know how many of us have actually got into situations like this where you had to walk out of a meeting because you don't crack ice. It doesn't happen. It's happened to me with a particular CEO for 2 years running. I mean, no animosity, but the reality is he didn't agree to what I said. So you will need to, and fortunately I went through this in the first 2 to 3 years so that when I was ready to do my transformation, and I'll talk to you about it, we had a little bit of buy-in there. And he was not a CEO of a small company, he was a CEO of one of the top 5 large companies in the group. So we're talking big numbers here. Somebody spoke about, I think you spoke about, the last point you made, sorry. The last point. Go back, please. Go back. I can understand your excitement, but yeah. You spoke about it very beautifully. So is your digital transformation domain specific? I had worked for probably single product companies or single industry companies in my career, and I got into a company which had multiple industries, like as I already spelled out for you. Do I need a domain specific transformation? And the answer, my dear friends, is yes. We currently have 3 transformations running in the group. So we have 3 types of industry. One is a B2B, where we deal with industries. We have a B2C, where we deal with consumers like all of you. And then we have direct investments into education, healthcare. So different. So we actually had to come up with 3 different strategies. We engaged with one of the big 4. We actually had to come up with a strategy that says, this is what a real estate platform as an entity should look at. This is what a B2B or an industries, as we call it, should look at it. Here is what your direct investments need to look at. And the reason that is different is because we as a group invest in companies. So when I bring you on board, you probably are already coming with an SAP or an Oracle or a Sage or I don't know, or a Microsoft, and I have a different ship running. How do I get you to talk to each other? So it takes me 6 months to get you to speak because the reporting is different, the dashboards are different, the CEO expectations are different. So this is why we decided we should have a different domain. And you spoke about this, context. Have you defined your content and context? And I've seen so many people, I do a little bit of mentoring to the junior CIOs in the Middle East region. They don't define the context because sometimes context is very difficult. I work for an organization where the context is they've been around, they've been hugely successful, run by one single CEO. Even today, great name in the UAE, well respected, good people, huge credibility. We needed to define. So we actually got in these people, and that's where we use the consult, come in and say, define the context. Because a lot of what I'm going to say going forward will be guys who have not been doing things the right way. And when you're going to say something like that, you need to define the context. While we understand you're successful, going forward, this is the path we'll take, and it will take a bell curve maybe longer. So you're not going to see an ROI in 12 to 14 months. Right? So, and this is something I don't know if you have done it. I've done it, especially my learnings from Dubai investments. This is going to be tricky. Don't keep pressing till I tell you. Press once. Yeah. Okay. People, I'm going to talk about 5 or 6 different categories on really the operating model, and I call it a proteon, but different ways. And the reason I'm saying that is because each of these, while we define them, and this is the transformation journey, while we define them, They all have the ability or need to have the capability to undergo the change as your transformation is even progressing from stage 1 to stage 2. So people and culture. Next, please. Service delivery models. We spoke about, somebody spoke about, we spoke about outsourcing versus insourcing. We spoke about, people working from home. We never had that. We worked for 2 months from home and there was a shutdown. Otherwise, all our employees work, at least in the head office and the building, work from office. So we had different complications, but then not similar to what you had. And I don't work for a company, where is Ashish? I think you're saying, I don't work for a company where there is complete trust. You can do what you want. There you are. Absolutely fantastic. We don't, and a lot of us don't, because today we're talking about zero trust and we're talking about severely regulated by audit and all of that, right? Next, please. Technology and tooling. So I'm not going to talk about this, but I'll talk about it in a non-technical way in my next slide. Next. Performance insight, and I'm not talking about business performance, I'm talking about IT performance insights and data. Are we actually performing, or are we measuring our performance as CIOs? Next, please. Governance. And I'm not talking about COVID frameworks, and we can do all of that. I'm not talking about ISO 27000. I'm talking about basic governance. Do we have basic governance policies in place when you start off? Or do we really think, I can see all of you working, I have 25 people, I can see 25 people working, I know exactly what Giri does at 9 o'clock in the morning, I know what you do at 10 o'clock in the morning. No, we're talking about governance, we're talking about actually published data and information that you can rely on tomorrow when you need to go back. Next, please. And functional processes, and funny examples. I'll pause here for a minute and share a story with you very quickly. Something that happened to a friend of mine. She runs a very large, a boutique firm, very well known in the industry, and she traveled from city A to city B in India. And this is going back to Sanjeev's and Manish's comment on customer experience. And I was thinking of sitting there and thinking about it. So she moved and she traveled on work. She came to the city. Won't take the name of the city because some of you are touchy. Came to the city, checked into a very good hotel, spent a good 30 minutes at the reservation counter, because this was at 9:30, 10 in the night. There was only one guy and there were two people in front checking in. So one guy checking in 30 minutes, she got the keys to her room. Nobody around, so she kind of dragged the bag. She went to the room. She kept putting it on the car like we all do. And there was a flicker of green and red lights. This kept happening for a few things, and you're already tired. I don't know how many of you anybody lives in Bangalore? Anybody's been to Bangalore? Yeah. So you know how romantic the drive is from the airport to where you want to go, right? And she had just reached there, and it kept going from red to green, nothing happened. She went to the phone, she called up the bell desk and she said, I am unable to open the door. Madam, try ulta. And she says, so? She says, no, because you went out, the card doesn't allow you to check in. And that's obviously a lot of BS. We all know that. So she got a new card, she checked in, and she learned. Obviously the story goes on. And she checked out the next morning, and we can all have our versions and laugh about it when we're having a drink. This hotel has spent a lot on digital transformation. I know it. You guys will know it if I tell you. What happened to the customer experience? What happened to all of this nonsense? And I'm not saying this happens every day, but the reality is, if you give a card to a person, somebody is already in the room. Thank God in the good old days they didn't have this, right? You could put in the key and you could open it and walk into a room. So for me, fundamentally, there is a massive flaw in the transformation that happened. Forget about technology, forget about tooling, forget about platform, I don't know what happened. And we'll talk about it in the next slide, right? And this is my last slide, Giri, I promise you. People and culture. I walked into Dubai Investments, it took over a team that had about X number of people, and I was told, Venki, we understand you're coming from multinational, if you want, you can change the people, blah, blah, blah. No, we'll work with the people. Work with them as we speak today, barring a few who have migrated. The rest of the team is still there. Were they? Yeah, you won't, because even I didn't when I joined. Do you have a future ready IT team? My answer is no, we did not have, because we did not know what we wanted to do in IT. Do I have the people who can deliver what the organizations need? No, because the organization did not know what they want to do in 5 years from now, because we thought we were a very complex organization. Are people taking risks and accountability? No, everything would come to the CIO. Boss, you make the decision. One of the first things I did was we actually redefined the entire IT operating model. We changed the structure and said 4 general managers, and because I ran a managed services center, we also had a financial whiskey. So 5 general managers all reporting into me with direct accountability for their people. So nobody reports into me directly. They just report to me with clear measurables, blah, blah, blah. So we did that. Part of the accountability. It took me 3 to 3.5 years to get the organization. We had to induct a few people as well, to get the organization to where we want to be in the years going forward, and they are still here. So for me, this is the biggest thing. And somebody spoke about trusting people and taking time to hire the people. It takes a lot of time, and as much as you would not like to believe, to hire people in Dubai. It's not easy getting you guys to come and work in Dubai. Trust me. We've tried hiring developers, we've tried hiring architects, we've tried hiring process people. It is not easy. They prefer the green card over a Dubai. They prefer going to Europe over a Dubai. So it's not easy hiring people, unlike you guys. You guys call and you get people. We don't. We struggle. We take 6 months sometimes. And where is he? We take 6 months to fill a software developer position with, guess what? ASP.NET skills. Why? Because he accepts the job and then he realizes, sir, Dubai is very expensive. I said, where are you going to live? I'm going to live Business Bay. My pal, Business Bay is next to Burj Khalifa. Why would you want to live there? Dubai is large. No. I spoke to my friend and my friend said I should get 50,000 dirhams. I don't get 50,000 dirhams, guys. I know, I do, but I'm just kidding. But I don't get 50,000 dirhams. So do you want that salary? No, but my friend said, no, Dubai is a very expensive place. You want to live a good life in Dubai. Your wife wants to shop a lot. You need this much money. It doesn't work. What are you drawing? I'm drawing 12 lakhs per annum. So how does that even calculate? You can divide, multiply, do your cost of living index. Tough time. We had a tough time hiring people, but we did that. We took that. Projects got delayed. I was not the best guy. I was not the Santa Claus I was made out to be. A lot of back, right? And this is when I actually went up to my to the CEO of the organization and I said, and this is something I strongly believe in, and I would say that to all of you people, gray hair. IT needs to report into the head of the organization, period. Trust me, I've worked for very large companies, both at Coke and at Motorola, where IT reported to the CFO, and I got that change made after I joined and said IT needs to report to the CEO, and it happened in both these companies. If we need to be accountable, we need to know what's happening at the round table. You may not be a part of every board meeting, you don't need to be, but you need to know what decisions are being made. I need to know if a company is being invested or being divested in. You need to know if some manufacturing facility is being opened up and not being told the inauguration is on 15th of August, 1st of August, please make sure the systems are up and running. We need to be a part of that. So I told the CEO that if you want IT to work, I need to report into you and not into the board, because we need to have one voice that will say we need this, and we are getting into the transformation phase. You need to drive up. To be fair to him, that was executed. I said this on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, I remember. That meeting was called on a Friday, and that decision was executed. And I started reporting into him, and things changed. Was it rose petals all over? No, obviously not, because the guys who were on the board kept saying, yeah, we know you did that and all that. So that went on. That piece, for me, I cannot emphasize how important the people and culture piece is to me, because I've been through it. Service delivery models. We did a lot of in-house development. We believed only in in-house development. As we speak, the largest application that we run hundreds of millions of dollars worth of systems, was developed in-house by 4 people. We had all the securities, we had some good, smart kids, damn good development. That is how it worked. You wanted a system, I developed it for you. You wanted a system, I developed. You wanted a system, I developed it for you. We never went out, we never spoke to vendors. Because we said, no, we believe in doing everything. Zero trust. We implemented zero trust long back. We work only internal, we work only with our own people. You will develop it for me. Please develop it for me. Doesn't matter, let it take 3 months, 4 months. Technology has moved on, doesn't matter, I'll work with you. That culture has changed. So it was 100%, we are now about 35% to 30 to 35 to 40% in-house, 60% has gone out. We've reduced the application development footprint consciously. I'm not saying it will work for you, but I'm saying today there are people coming and saying, somebody said that and Manish said it, I think, beautifully, stop calling me a vendor. We work with partners. I did that in my experience. I work with them. Some of them really want to be partners. They don't want to sell you a box and walk away. They don't want to sell you a service and walk away. While the sales guy may have the P&L on his forehead all the time, the reality is some of them genuinely want to work with you as partners. So if you share your experience, if you tell them this is your journey, they are going to listen to you, and probably some of them will invest in your growth. And they'll say, I'm going to do this for you. Let's go. For example, one of the partners we work with, and Dell, I'll take their name. Dell actually worked with us. We went to Dell and I told Dell, listen, this is my proposition. I cannot be buying all the hardware you're giving, but if you are working with us as a partner, let's look at it. And Dell did that with us. So we are a large customer for Dell, and we work with them. They give us new products and all of that. So this is very, very important. The reason I'm saying this is because all this is directly connected to what you said earlier about the context and the scope of your digital transformation. If you don't get this right, you will be struggling and scratching your head all the time. Technology and tooling. We did not have a cloud strategy till 3 years back while the world was going on it. I am not a fan of pardon me, the vendors. I'm not a big fan of the vendors coming and saying you need to move to the cloud because tomorrow morning everything else is closing down. Cloud is the first thing. We have not moved to the cloud. We established our cloud strategy 2 years back. We got it approved by the board, and today we are already there. Lift and shift is happening. It will never be 100%. And the reason we had complex reasons, unlike some of you. We are a UAE-based company. The government has a stake and all of that. So there are issues of data sovereignty, data residency. It cannot be sitting outside data centers. Have to be based here. A lot of complications. Today things are different because Microsoft has set up data centers. Oracle has set up data centers. SAP has set up data centers. Equinox has set up one of the largest data centers. Everybody is there now, so we can run it. We can run it out there. So, but things like these are very, very important. Enterprise architecture. I've heard, and some of the junior CIOs or the second in line say they sit down and they do the enterprise architecture. Why? Because they're very technically competent, and they may be very smart. They have sat and done the enterprise architecture. It's a good idea to do it, but please talk to people who are experts to get your enterprise architecture done, because not everybody hires. I don't have an enterprise architect in my team. Not everybody hires an enterprise architect, and if you don't have one, talk to the consultant, talk to technology people who can do it for you, because your enterprise architecture is not about your box. It's not about the telecom layer at the bottom. It's about what is your enterprise applications architecture, what is your security architecture, what is your I don't know, what is your delivery architecture, what's your business. I don't know. Today I don't know. I know it for Dubai Investments. I don't know for your companies. So your enterprise architecture is not a box with 3 verticals and 4 horizontal. It's much more than that. And when we did the enterprise architecture, there was no AI. It was there. We were talking about it, but there was in the Harvard circles, but nobody was implementing it. There was no ML. There was no RPA. Now today, all that is happening. So RPA, we have done RPA and all of that. So that needs to get into it. What's my cloud strategy? Do I shift everything to the cloud? No, you can't. Manufacturing, for example, you can't move everything to the cloud. What do you do with a legacy organization? We have a lot of legacy ourselves. Right? Performance insights. We run complicated tools. We also ran Manage Engine, which all of you will know, that does insights and help desk and all of that. But is that enough? Answer is no. Because when I say performance, it's not about how many tickets has your support team solved in the last 30 days. No, you don't want to know that. Don't waste your time, please. You only want to look at the data if you are wanting to hire or let go of people. Don't waste your time looking at user support data. As a CIO, stop doing it. I'm saying it with a lot of authority and conviction. Stop doing it. Don't waste your time. If you want to do it, ask your operations guy to give you a sheet, present it to the board, finish it off. Don't waste your time saying, did my support guy solve 20 problems or 30 problems? Doesn't matter. If you're going to ask for a better team or a larger team, if there is a problem, then go into it. Don't go into it. So don't waste it. But how can you proactively solve something? How can you proactively move from something to VoIP? How can you, we don't have VoIP. How can you proactively move away from your data center? One of the things we want to do is we are actually looking at probably winding down our data center. How do we move away from our data center to third-party data center, right? Those are things that you want to spend time on. And you can only do that not by looking at your support people's data, by saying how long do you take to deliver an application? How long do your people take to understand? Right? This is okay. Governance. Not going to spend too much time. Very simple. Are there governance frameworks? Do I use it? What's your change management, performance management? Simple things. Don't invent it. There is enough stuff available there. There are COBIT framework there. Use some of it when you're ready. Start with basics. Don't start doing the big thing because you'll need 2 people to manage it. When audit asked us to do this about 4 years back, and I told them we don't have the people, and they said, Venki, let's get somebody to do it for you. We said, if that's what you will do it. We actually got somebody to develop it for us, and we said we'll run it after 1 year. Today we run it. In the last 1 year, we've been running the framework. And it's fine. Are we 9 out of 10? No, we are probably 5 out of 10, but we are running it. We know what we missed. That's important, right? Functional processes. Yeah, functional processes. When we started the transformation exercise, we had all the people in the room, and we said, okay, how many do we have functional processes? And everybody in the room put up their hand and said, yes, we do. And the Big Four said, great, we will start the the hall is ready. The wedding date is fixed for August 15. Let's go done, guys. All of you are invited. The food, booze on the house come. You land up there and you realize the hall doesn't have AC, there are no chairs, and you guys said you put up a hand, but you didn't ask whether you need chairs. So what we had done, and here's a huge learning, each entity, you as a CEO or a general manager had done process and policy for, procedure and policy for your organization. You had done for your organization, you had done for you. So everybody has it certified by the Big Four. But hey, guess what? They don't talk to each other. There is no meeting point at all. There is no process. There is no flowchart. These are good policy and procedure documents. As we speak today, we had to do a functional mapping across the organization saying, how do I want my real estate platform to look at? How do I want my B2B platform to look at? How do I want my direct investments platform to look at from a functional angle? We are a legacy organization. Do I need industry best practices to come in? Yes, this is the time to look at it because you're transforming. This is the time to say, guys, I'm changing, so please do that. Yeah? And really, this is what it is, and this is my final slide. I genuinely believe in keeping it simple. I've avoided using, in all my years of presentation, I've avoided using technical words in my decks. I've never used them for any board meeting ever. Never used them. The only time I used it was when we actually had the CTO of my global organization come down. That's the only time we had diagrams and squiggles. Otherwise, the board is not interested in knowing how many terabytes of data you had. They're not interested in knowing, unless you have a techie on the board. They're not interested in how many servers you had. They are interested in knowing how much it's going to cost me. They will ask questions on your return on investment. Be very careful. They are interested in knowing how much time will it take to implement this transformation. Don't jump and say 12 months. I've had people from tier 1 ERP come and tell me, we will implement this for you in 3 months. They've actually made promises in writing to general managers who have come and said, Venki, you're telling us it will take 18, 24 months. Here is a paper from tier 1 vendor that says 3 months. I said, call him, we'll have a meeting. And the lunch is on me. And the meeting never happened, it just ended. No, but we assume you guys have everything, so we just thought we'll come and implement it. No, this is not Foxborough or DBase. It will take you X months to do the process mapping. As we speak, still alive, still with Dubai Investments, still working, so I guess some things I've done right. We are in the middle of a massive transformation we're moving from phase 1 to phase 2 and phase 3. And life is great, so keep IT simple. That was my last words. Keep IT simple and don't take life too seriously. Enjoy yourself, and anytime you want, come to Dubai. I had put that's my email ID. Give me a call, give me a shout. Work, non-work, I will take you around, and thank you very much for listening to me. I appreciate your time. Thank you.